Mr. Bill on the Kennedy assassination. I know you probably heard more than you want to hear on the subject, and there's either the guys that say that Oswald did it or the conspiracy nuts. I'm neither one of those camps because I don't know what happened for sure, but I have questions. Because you see, when Kennedy was killed by Oswald, and they captured Oswald very quickly, and when they captured him, they did a test on his hands, and there was no powder residue on his hands. And he had supposedly fired a rifle, a bolt-action rifle, not as good as this one, like my wife's rifle, but needless to say, he fired a bolt-action rifle, 3 shots at the president, and then he killed supposedly a cop later that day with a handgun, and yet no powder residues on his hands. And the only option for doing that is that he was wearing gloves. Now, if you've ever shot a gun with gloves on, it's more difficult to do, and you don't get near the accuracy with gloves on. That's just how it is. Very seldom will you see any kind of a professional shooter shooting with gloves on. Keep that in mind. Now, I've shot in my time, and I've shot thousands of rounds before my hearing finally shelled out, and I had a sergeant teach me quite a few tricks. I took my wife's rifle, a 30-06 pump, and offhand, there's 5-shot group at 200 yards, which isn't bad for a 30-06 Remington pump. So I have a little bit of credibility when I speak of shooting. And the gun he shot was not as good as this one, but what it did have, it had a scope. And the first shot, well, it was at 60 yards. The next shot he shot was at 80, and the last shot was 110 yards away. Those are not sniper ranges whatsoever. You get out at 500, 700 yards, that's getting into some tough shooting ranges. 60 yards is not a tough shot. In fact, the head will cover and fill up a scope if you're looking at the back of a head. So, keeping that in mind, I would like you to remember that his first shot, well, it missed 27 feet off to the side. He missed his head, Kennedy's head, 27 feet. Now, he is supposed to have been a marksman, except for one minor detail. My father and his 4 brothers were in World War II, and I had 3 uncles in Korea. And so I was around a lot of people that talked about military, and they all said that all you had to do to get to be a marksman or a better ranked shooter was to slip a $20 bill to the guy downrange scoring you. So anytime the military tells me they've got a marksman shooter, I kind of take it with a grain of salt. It might be better nowadays, but military still plays games just like you can cheat in school. And so it does happen. So that doesn't mean that he was a great shot. But if he missed the first shot 27 feet, and then the next 2 was a throat and a head shot dead on, that doesn't sound like the same shooter to me. And why would you shoot the 27 feet off? Or maybe it was a gimme shot, a warning shot. Now, why would somebody shoot a warning shot? To try to get them to get the devil out of there. Did somebody at the last second say, I don't want to go through with this? There's a lot of questions that just aren't answered. And I'm not saying one way or t'other, but Mr. Bill on the Kennedy assassination, I believe there's more questions than there are answers. And until we get the government to come clean, and even if they told me the sky was blue and the grass was green, the first thing I'd do is call the government a liar. So they'd have to bring up some pretty heavy proof. But I still think we, the taxpayers, we, the Americans, deserve the truth. This is McCook's Mr. Bill. Rate this film.